Go see your mother. You were only given one. Go see your mother. And you know that you will never have another. Go see your mother. Go see your mom.
Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia. This is my mother, Ima. Hey, Ima.
How do you do? Why do I look so bad on photographs?
I don't know, because it's
am
not a
not
photograph, it's a video.
I am not I am not photogenic at all.
It's not that, it's angles. It's angles and lighting. That's all. Yeah. Yeah, you're giving everyone a seizure with that movement of the camera. All right. This week is talking about Hanukkah's coming up. So we could talk about the Hanukkah story. Something. Let's talk about.
So anyway, I was talked into buying one of those LED lit up big blow up dreidels and put it on my lawn.
Do you like it?
I love it. I'm very happy I got talked into it. But to get it, see, we can't, we're not allowed to put things on our lawn, any decoration, because it interferes with the lawn people cutting the lawn. So the HOA has requested, that everyone, whatever decorations you're putting up for whatever holidays you're celebrating, please keep them in the area, either on your hedges or that little, like rocked in area that's around your hedges. So don't ask how many times I put the manure on the hedges and it fell over it, this and that. And I finally figured out, I took the strings and I set it up and I used the strings and I tied it up between two palm trees.
Wonderful.
So finally it's balanced.
I'm glad it all worked out. The drama with the hedges and HOA being, I've never heard anyone like their HOA. I have never heard anything positive with them. Oh my gosh, I'm so lucky I don't live in a place with HOAs.
Yeah, I think there might be a tendency because there are people I know who want to move to this area. And when they found out there was an HOA, they said no. I know people that told me they purposely told their real estate agents to find them a house that is not in an area where there's an HOA. And I think if more people do this and it affects the real estate market, you're going to see you're going to see probably some, the legislature probably pulling the reins in on some of these HOAs that they are just they're getting too over. I think they're overextending their power. A lot of people agree to that. They're way overextending their power.
Thing is, I'm noticing that it's also a generational thing. I think boomers are the ones that are really into these HOAs, but I'd be curious to know if the next generation, Generation X or early millennials, would be interested in having the same lifestyle or mentality that boomers have created. Like, I think I remember talking a while ago about that there was this whole movement back in the day where they didn't want you to say the word hey, like, hey, how's it going? So they would say, hey, it's for horses.
My mother used to say that. Yeah, my mother said that all the time. Hey, she goes, hey, it's for horses.
Yeah, but they all died off, and we now say hey. So I think a lot of this has to do with like different mentalities from different generations and how they are okay with certain, attitudes or, I guess, administration, and then the older generation, younger generations just stop caring about it, are like, we don't want that.
Well, if you ever saw the musical Music Man?
No.
Okay. There's a scene in the beginning where the con artist, it's about a man who goes to this town and he's really a con artist. So what he does, though, he convinces the townspeople that there was a pool hall. This is the early 1900s, 1910s. It's pre-World War One.
Mhm.
And so they were starting to establish pool halls around the country. It was more of a male thing. No, a decent woman wouldn't go to a pool hall in those days. It was really, for guys. So what this con artist does, he comes into these towns, he pretends to be a music teacher who wants to set up a boys band to try to distract these boys away from these pool halls that are really they're bringing down the morality of these young men, of these like teenage boys. So what he does is he goes to these town meetings and he infiltrates. So there's a scene where he's got a group of people. He's sparked their interest. Like he goes to town meetings, he calls out, "What's this about a pool hall?" And everyone's going, "A pool hall, a pool hall," And so he sings the song where we've got trouble here in River City. That's trouble with a T. It rhymes with P. That spells for pool, stands for pool. And he sings this whole song. And in one of the verses, he says, "Mothers of River City, do you notice certain behaviors in your young sons? Do you find words creeping into their vocabulary and like?" And he thinks, he goes, "Swell." And all the women go, "Trouble, trouble, trouble, trouble." And he goes, "And so's your old man." And all the women are going, "Trouble, trouble, trouble, trouble." And that's, that's how he gets these people to give him money to start a boys band. And then he skips town. That's his modus operandi. So anyway, watch this sometime. It's worth it watching this musical. It's a really good musical. Got some
What's it
nice
called?
music. It's funny. It's called The Music Man by
Oh.
something. I forgot his name. Any other time I would know his name. Oh well. Anyways, Meredith something, but it's worth watching. It's a lot of fun. It's a funny music. It's a real. It's cute.
Well, that's the point I was trying to make, was that, each generation brings its own pros and cons. And they're even talking nowadays that because the great generation is leaving and the boomer generation is on its way out, that what's going to happen to all this property and accumulative things that these boomers have had, and what's Generation X and millennials going to deal with it. And so it's funny because it's known that like millennials got the short end of the stick, when being told like, work hard, you'll be successful, and you're going to have opportunity if you go to college and things like that, and we're all going to be replaced by AI really soon. But it seems like there's going to be in the next 10-15 years this surge of property ownership that millennials are going to be able to afford. But my question was for you, is that how have you seen over the years what your parents' generation tried to implement and create, and what was successful and what was not?
What was not successful is them beating us to a pulp sometimes if we didn't listen. That was totally unsuccessful. They wanted us to. What they did though instill was a very good work ethic. They encouraged us to work hard, and they wanted us to succeed. As far as college goes, most of us were totally pushed into college, whether or not we wanted to go. And it's nice to see now that people are being more realistic about college. People are really looking, instead of just go to college, and you'll clean. Oh, you'll clean up. You'll make a good living, yada yada. And we found over the years, many of us discovered that we graduated from college, many of us with totally unmarketable degrees. There's more of a tendency now to take a really second look at what you want to do in life, what is marketable, what the job market is. You see more. Me and my friends who graduated college all say the same thing. We see a lot of people in our age bracket working at professions that that did not really require a college degree. And we see a lot of people, skilled laborers, like tradespeople, earning more than college grad.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely picked up on that as well. It's just that's why with AI, people are really realizing more and more that hand skilled labor is the way to go because all these white collar jobs are going to just become obsolete in the next 10 years.
Well, I was talking to a relative whose daughter worked in advertising. She got after college, she went to a specialized um, I don't know how you would say it, an institute to learn advertising. And she recently, in fact, I've spoken to a few people who were involved in advertising who told me that recently there has been a tremendous unemployment situation among these people who used to work in advertising, because like you said, AI is totally wiping out a lot of these professions in advertising. But she found something else that she really enjoyed and is going for now to make money, since she didn't have her job since she was laid off. She started substituting in the public school system in high schools, and she found she really enjoyed it. She really enjoyed teaching. So now she's applying for a position, and with her educational background, she only has to take like a few courses to get certification. But she found this whole new niche for herself now.
Well, that again, that's where it's like, because I'm looking at architecture
Mhm.
and it's just like more and more architects are just dropping like flies and moving on to other professions because of just the way architecture has been handled with the certification requirements and with the standards of laws where everyone else gets to call themselves an architect. You don't really need an architect for residential work. You have all these other things where like you don't need an architect. And then you start getting to these things where AI can pretty much do a lot of the heavy lifting that architects used to do. So it kind of just like, well, what are you going to do about that? And it's just there are going to be a whole lot of unemployed architects.
But don't you need, my question is though, don't you need like an architect to I don't know how AI works. I'm lucky that I'm just breaking into being able to send photo shoots on my phone to different people. For me that's high tech. But wouldn't you need architects to design the AI, to put in
Those,
the information in the AI
yes,
to begin with?
yes, you would, but not as much. For example, for a project, you need to like I'm making it up just for numbers, but just to give an example. You'll need like five architects, one project manager, and a few draftsmen, and they have to just put all together to get a project done and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
This would require maybe two architects. The project manager to verify, make sure everything is up and running, and the other architectural draftsman that should be well versed in AI, modifying what needs to get modified and not needing to do that many red lines. So yes, you're right. There would be an architect that would be like needing to be there, but there won't be as many.
Mm-hmm.
And we were even talking over Shabbos about the idea that because there's like AI coming in and taking a lot of jobs and positions, and then you also have people pushing for a 3-day weekend. There's probably in the next 10, 15 years, this concept of a lot of places in the world going to start doing these 3-day weekends where you don't have to work as much because you literally can't and don't have to. Everything is it's like you take, for instance, a housewife from the 1920s, right? And all of the chores she had to do to get the stuff done around the house. Then you compare a housewife to 2025. No offense. What do you have to do? The laundry. Okay. 1920s, how would they do laundry?
Mostly by hand, like the scrub board, and then hang it up.
And then
And
you had
then
dirty diapers. Were they
you had,
disposable?
oh, wait a minute. I remember when I was a kid, my mother having to wash the caulk diapers. Well, she put in the washing machine. But actually, for a while, I did that to save money. Your sisters, when your brothers and sisters were, before you came along, when your brothers and sisters were, firstborn, they had a diaper service. And then during the time that your father was unemployed, I was looking for ways to economize. In those days, disposable diapers were very expensive. We're kind of
Mhm.
on the expensive side. We used to, in fact, the Frum women used to use disposables just for Shabbos and Yom Tov. It came to that point. But up until then, until disposable diapers started to go more generic and become cheaper, I went through a time where I decided just to go ahead and buy cloth diapers and wash them myself. And it
Mhm.
saved a lot of money. It's much cheaper to do that, saved a tremendous amount of money. So I put them in the washing machine with bleach and, disinfectant and, all
So,
that, yada, yada.
so you're seeing my point, basically,
Yeah.
that motherhood has gotten way easier.
Oh, yeah.
Various jobs have gotten way easier.
Yeah.
So when you ask yourself, okay, what's the next step? If everything is being easy, everything is being done for me, what more can I actually do for work? What work needs to be
By
done?
the way, I was giving a piano lesson at somebody's house that had one of those, like those little flat robots, the disc that
Oh
cleans your
yeah, yeah, the
floor.
Roombas.
And I'm sitting there and I feel something like brushed alongside my foot, and I look down and I go, "It's alive!"
Yes. So it's just like the possibility of people not working, is very likely because it's just like, well, what can they do? All these white collar jobs the past 50 years have been shoved down everyone's throats to go ahead and go to college and do this and get the cut.
Mhm.
You're all being wiped out by AI in the next 10 years, maximum, probably the next 5.
I wonder sometimes too, like, I hate to say it, I've been in many situations where I've been in a few situations where kids that I was like I did daycare for a while, and one of my parents asked me in the afternoon. She said that they were having a lot of trouble with their son at school, and it was mostly in the afternoon. So she was sending him to school for Hebrew studies, and this is in the yeshiva. He was only like in kindergarten. She was sending him in the morning for his Hebrew studies first thing, but then in the afternoon he would come home, and she had a tablet with a whole learning program for general studies skills, math and language arts, math, spelling, language arts.
Yeah.
And she said, would you mind sitting next to him, and if he's got any problems with it, helping him with it? I said, you bet, I'd love to. I said, because there was a time for a while that I actually taught first grade, and I loved it. And I said, sure, I would love to do it, no problem. He got on that tablet. This is a kid in kindergarten. In a few months, was doing second semester, second grade math.
Wow.
He was adding whole columns. He was borrowing columns, subtracting and borrowing columns, and doing it mostly on his own. And I said to his mother, now I see why they have trouble with him in the afternoon. The kid's a genius. He's bored. She goes, what? I showed her on the tablet how with this computerized program, he just caught on right away and went full speed. And she said that the teachers at school misled him to believe that he was almost like borderline retarded. No, the kid's
So
brilliant.
you know why? In my head,
And
I look at
yeah, and I'm
I
wondering
look at people.
about this: how education is going to go to the point that how many kids are going to eventually just stay home and do these computerized programs and have a lot of success with them. What, why send this kid to school when he's just going to get in trouble? He's just going to be bullied, when he can stay home and just do these computerized programs and just go full speed.
Well, what I noticed also with these computer programs, the advantage they have over going to school and classes is that if you don't understand something and you need it to repeat itself, it will repeat itself the same way from the beginning until you get it. Go tell a teacher to repeat the same thing, and if 2 times, 3 times max, for sorry, Charlie, pick up the pace. I don't care. And these computers have no problem repeating themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what I was watching. So I started doing with my son, where it's just like he looks at all these round discs that are stacked up. And I go ahead and I'm like, okay, I want him to identify the colors. So he kind of grasps colors. So he picks up one and says red. Then he points to another one. And in a very monotone, automatic voice, I go, blue, yellow, blue, blue, red, orange, purple, purple. And he'll say, what's this? What's this? I'll say purple. Same tone over and over again. Till the next day he picks it up and says purple. Because they're able to get that repetition. And I think computers can give that exact repetition in an instant where teachers can't do that.
So tonight I was working, in fact, on Duolingo. And what I can't get over about Duolingo is how this computer works with you. Like, oops, try again. Or they show you, oops, that was so close. And then they have highlighted the word you got wrong. So you can repeat the same sentence maybe 2 or 3 times. And this time finally pick up on where you made your mistake. And then it's very good, and you get rewards and you get gems. I thought that would have been so nice had I had that nice positive reinforcement in school.
Well, one of the things I noticed with Duolingo when I first started using it was that they didn't. I'll circle back a little bit. When I was younger and I was learning Hebrew, the way I was taught Hebrew by my parents and by adults was, here's a word that says Vayomer. Vayomer means he said. Okay, what does Vayomer mean? I don't know. It means, and he said. What does Vayomer mean? You're already having this problem. But what Duolingo does, it takes away the emotion. And if you don't know a word, wait, you hover over it and it pops up. And then when you do it enough times in your head, you just naturally get it because you're able to do it. But parents and teachers growing up, I had this attitude of you better know this the second I say it comes out of my mouth. If you don't remember it, if you don't know it immediately, you're an idiot. I don't like you. You're a problem, blah, blah, blah. And it's just that's that, again, what I was saying beforehand about, generations and their attitudes and how it's just dying off. And I think boomers were reacting to their great generation attitude, where when they became parents, they started bringing back some of the old school mentality.
I remember, I think we talked about this one of our previous podcasts, that they thought if they yelled at you, it would be like a jump start. And instead, research showed that them yelling at you did just the opposite, that it got your adrenaline running and you couldn't think. You had the fight or flight reaction. They didn't realize they were defeating their own purpose by yelling at you.
Well, it's this whole idea of more of a computerized reaction. Positive reinforcement and constant reward and just encouragement so you can get things done. And it in a way, a lot of these apps want you to be on the app. They want you to stay. So they're going to do things that are going to manipulate you to stay on the app. So calling you a worthless piece of whatever, garbage, you're not going to stay on the app. So they find ways to keep you on it. So that's the other thing. It's this teaching method of well, you should know this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's important, but, I don't know.
I had a professor in college once. I asked a question, and it was, what do you mean you don't know? Whatever. And I looked at him, I said, if I knew, would I be asking?
It's why else am I here? It boggles my mind. That's all I have to say about
I mean, if
that.
I'm asking, I don't know, obviously. What do you mean you're yelling at me? Do I? Then there was the professor. Oh gosh, it was hysterical. Where we had this professor who was always talking about the fool and Hamlet being Polonius. The fool, every other lecture, the fool and Hamlet being Polonius. The fool and Hamlet being Polonius. So one time I pointed out something about the fool and Hamlet, and he says to me, "And who's the fool in Hamlet?" I looked at him strangely. I go, "Why, Polonius, of course." And the class cracked up laughing. And he goes, "No, I'm asking you."
College is such a waste of time and a giant scam because we were
Charlie Kirk said that. Yeah.
yeah, I was talking to I was talking to some people last night. We had a nice Friday night Shabbos dinner meal, and we're talking about our experiences in college and how like we all have these similar stories where it's just like the professors don't want you to think. They don't want to engage. They just want to like go on about their own personal, research. And if you ask questions or show inquisitive behavior, they'll give you a bad grade and shove you under the bus.
Right.
And it's the dumbest thing. It's like if I don't blindly agree with you, make your life easier, make sure that I'm the easiest it can be. It was like. It was like one time I was with somebody in college and they taught me that like it's not really about understanding the work, it's about learning how to pass. And she taught me how to pass. And I got straight A's in physics and calculus because I just knew how to ask the questions, be like, "Hey, what's going to be in the test? Hey, can we talk about this on the exam? Can we meet up later on to discuss what's going to be on the exam?" And the professors had no problem explaining point blank, "This is going to be an exam. This is what's going to be here." Da, 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 da. And like, I wasn't really paying attention to physics, but I was paying attention to how to pass the class. And I did a great job trying to pass the class. And that's the frustration because it's like people think when it comes to learning that you have to get this in-depth learning concept, yada, yada, yada. But really, it's just like, get the information, move on. Get the information, move on. Get the information, and move on.
As a matter of fact, there was a discussion that was on one of the talk shows, one of the radio talk shows, and they were discussing this very thing. They mentioned something about what did they the top universities, Harvard, Yale, I forgot, what's it, a few like the top universities were concerned that more and more of their students don't know like rudimental mathematics or rudimental sentence structure and are graduating and really don't have these skills. And it was like you said, that they just learn. They just learn basically, like you say, how to basically pass how to basically pass the tests.
But maybe that's all that you need. I think I have this back and forth, and the reason why is because like I was talking to my father-in-law at at the Shabbos table today, and I was talking to him about doing daf yomi, where all you have to do is just listen to it and just pound it through it. You don't have to go so in depth. And he was saying that my brother-in-law's, he tried to do daf yomi and he quit because he was trying to get really in depth into the Gemara and he couldn't hack it because it requires so much time to go through it. And the answer is that's nice, but it's not daf yomi. That's like all you need to do is just listen and go.
Listen, just reviewing it, just hearing it, just reviewing it.
It's well, you're going over an entire page front and back within 45 minutes on average, which is very fast, very fast. So you're not going to go really in depth into the Gemara because the other thing is with Gemara, what people don't understand is you don't understand. You'll never understand. And you have to constantly stay in the state of mind of like, I'm constantly learning new things. Because if you put in all this effort to understand what, one rabbi says, you're going to realize that he gets, upschlugged, or he gets proven wrong by another rabbi. And it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So you can't be so engrossed, because it's just going to trip you up. So I think that's what I feel a lot of times when I was studying physics and calculus. I wasn't trying to learn it so much in depth. I was just trying to get the surface level, and that's how I was able to succeed. And I think a lot of times, a lot of people get this impression that they have to be in depth to learn something, when the reality is that's not true.
Well, there was something else that I wanted to mention about that that revelation about what's going on college campuses. That one of the main, I guess, evils, if you want to talk about, or one of the practices that is causing this academic depression, this coming down, is the bell-shaped curve. And they said with the bell-shaped curve, those students, of course, that got the top grades on that particular exam, that's an A. Well, when I was in college, I was there was a friend of mine going to Hopkins, and he was saying in their physics class at Hopkins, so many people understood so little that according to the bell-shaped curve that the professor was using to give the grades, 50 was an A. 50 was an A. I said to him, who's learning anything in that class? And he told me, he says, nothing. He says, we're not learning anything. That's how the professors are getting around. They don't want to fail the entire class. I guess it would look bad for them, or they might lose their job if they do that. So they use the bell-shaped curve. And that's one of the negative things. I'm looking for a term for that. Nemesis? Enemy?
No.
Like that.
It's the bell-shaped curve, I think, helps. I think what the thing is, we have.
I think no one's learning anything using a bell-shaped curve.
What we have to understand is what is the end goal of college?
Get you out of there.
Get you out of there and get you into supposedly get you into a job. Now, I've been out of college for the past 12 years. Yeah, 12 years. Wow. I've been out of college for 12 years. And I got my master's in architecture and planning. I graduated with a 3.4, GPA.
Pretty good. Yeah.
I had my experiences, and the thing is, they just want you to grasp the beginning concepts of this of whatever degree you're getting, and the in-depth, all the is supposed to happen over the years of work experience. And I think what happens is people are so enthusiastic to start their job, they take college as a job, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
What you're supposed to be doing is grasping the simple beginning concepts. So if you're in a physics class, you're not trying to go ahead and create an atom bomb. All you're doing is every motion that you're pushing one way, and another motion's going that way, and you're doing a way to balancing out all the forces being placed in wherever. And it's just like you're just grasping the baby concepts. Don't bite off more than you can chew. And I think what happens a lot of times is people bite off more than they can chew. They get too deep into it. They fail because they're thinking too hard on it. And then they wonder, what's going on? Well, because you're not supposed to think that way. You're not supposed to go into that.
When I was in college, I remember so many, if I did poorly on an exam, whatever, I remember so many professors and people saying to me, you're thinking too deeply into it. They don't want you to think deeply. You think too deeply into it. Yeah.
Because you're overthinking. You're overthinking it. It's like you're waiting for a trick question. You're waiting for the second foot to drop, but that's not going to happen. They just want you to get the basic concepts so you can move on to the next thing, because it's going to get more layered. It's not going to get complicated, just more layered. And being in architecture and construction, I'm learning more and more that like, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It just gets layered, so it seems a little muddy. So you have to be aware of what's going on. For a simple example, right? We get taught in school about these grab bars for the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, standards of design. So it's a civil rights issue, and they have to go ahead and make sure that these grab bars are in the right location. In the code, in the standard design code, it says that the grab bar should be between 33 and 36 inches above the finished floor. The top of the grab bar should be 33, 36 above the finished floor. It's a pretty simple concept. A lot of people freak out about it because it's like, well, what if it's blocking a toilet sensor? So where do you put it? Well, I know where I should put it.
What's a toilet sensor?
You ever go to a bathroom and they have automatic flush?
Yeah.
So there's a sensor there, so you can't block it. So the grab bar, which is in the rear wall, cannot be blocked.
Ooh.
So you have like 5-6 people from the subcontractor to the foreman to the superintendent to the quality control inspector to the architect to the construction administrator, all trying to determine where to put a grab bar behind a toilet. Because everything has approval, everything has layers, everything has this, that, and the other. So it's just like the simple concept you would learn in school can be complicated in real life. But that doesn't matter because you're in school right now. Get the simple concept down first.
Uh-huh.
So that's why it's like, don't think too hard. Don't think like you're at work. Think like you're at school. And that's the trick. Think like you're in school, not when you're at work. And I think a lot of people in college, and looking at myself included, I think that was the biggest problem, that I thought like I was at work, not that I was at school. And if I could go back to school and do it again, that's one thing I would definitely add to it, where it's just like, I'd think like I'm in school, not like I'm at work. And too many people don't do that.
Interesting. But you were mentioning before about, Daf Yomi. I was noticing something on Chabad.org. I do Chumash and Tanya and Hayom Yom and daily mitzvahs. And when I started a few years ago to do these on a regular basis. At first, I was like, when I was in school and you listen to a lecture, you had to really try to memorize, to do as best you can to try to absorb what the professor was saying, and to study and to get the details so that you could, like I said, pass the exam. So when I first started listening, it was really hard for me because I was used to that type of thinking where I'm listening and I'm trying to get what they're saying and I'm trying to memorize the different points. And then I realized that it's not that important for you to do that. You're no longer in school. You're not going to be tested on this, but it's going to be good for your neshama. Just, while you're driving, just listen. It's better than listening to the radio. Listen to these Torah classes that are being given on Chabad.org. And so I relaxed and I was starting to do that more and more and more. And then as the years have gone on and I've been reviewing, I've been listening to the same basic, Chumash and Tanya and Hayom Yom and daily mitzvahs every day for the past 3 years or so. I'm starting to actually being able to remember now and to really start to understand concepts that I never thought I would be able to understand before. Because it's been like 3 years now of just repetition of hearing these things over and over and over again. And I think with Daf Yomi, eventually the more and more you go over, they get more over and over and over again. Eventually, you're not going to understand everything, but you do get pieces here and there of things of, oh yeah, that's right. I remember Rebbe, Yossi said that, or Rebbe Akiva said that. Eventually you start to be able to remember these things.
Yeah, you soak it in, and that's the whole conclusion of this podcast episode. It's like, just try it out and listen. And listening can do so much, and really embrace it. It's all you have to do is just sit there and listen. And it's just like, I think a lot of times people just get too overworked and think that they have to do a whole lot more than what they really need to.
Yeah.
You know?
And don't let school interfere with your education.
Yeah, that's true. But all right, love you. That's another episode of Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. Thanks for listening to us kvetch, reminisce, and of course, get a little motherly advice along the way. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your favorite Jewish mother or anyone who needs a little guilt in their life. Got a story, question, or just want to say hi? Send us a message. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, call your mother. She worries.